Have you ever looked closely at an airplane window and noticed that tiny little hole near the bottom? Most people never even realize it's there. It looks so small and so unimportant that it's easy to ignore. But here's something surprising. That tiny hole isn't a manufacturing mistake, and it definitely wasn't added by accident. In fact, it's one of the most important safety features built into the entire window. Without it, the window would have a much harder time handling the enormous pressure difference between the cabin and the air outside while flying at 35,000 feet. Every second you're in the air, that tiny hole is quietly helping the window do its job safely. So why is it there, and how can something so small make such a big difference? Let's find out. Most people think an airplane window is made from just one thick piece of glass. But that's not how it's designed. Every airplane window actually has 3 separate layers, and each one has a very specific job. The outer pane is the strongest layer. It's designed to withstand the huge pressure difference between the cabin and the outside air during flight. Behind it is the middle pane, which contains the tiny hole you noticed earlier. Finally, there's the inner pane, the one closest to you. It protects the other layers from scratches and everyday wear inside the cabin. Together, these 3 layers work as a single safety system, making the window incredibly strong. But if all 3 layers are important, why is that tiny hole found only in the middle pane? Now let's understand why airplane windows need such a strong design. When an airplane flies at around 35,000 feet, the air outside becomes extremely thin, creating very low air pressure. Inside the cabin, however, the air is kept at a much higher pressure so passengers can breathe comfortably. This creates a huge pressure difference between the inside and the outside of the aircraft. That pressure constantly pushes outward against the airplane windows throughout the entire flight. In fact, the window experiences this force every single second the aircraft is in the air. So how does such a small window safely handle so much pressure without breaking? The answer lies in one tiny feature that most passengers never even notice. So, what does that tiny hole actually do? It's called a bleed hole, and despite its tiny size, it performs one of the most important jobs in the entire window. As the airplane climbs higher, a large pressure difference develops between the cabin and the air outside. Without the bleed hole, pressure could become trapped between the window layers, placing unnecessary force on them. The bleed hole slowly equalizes that pressure, so the outer pane carries almost all of the load, exactly as it was designed to do. This keeps the middle and inner panes under much less stress, helping the entire window system remain strong and reliable throughout the flight. That's impressive for such a tiny hole. But then, why is it placed only in the middle pane and nowhere else? Now here's another interesting question. If the bleed hole is so important, why isn't it placed in the outer pane or the inner pane? The answer comes down to safety and pressure control. The outer pane is specially designed to handle almost all of the pressure during flight. If it had a hole, it wouldn't be able to do that job properly. The inner pane, on the other hand, acts as a protective barrier inside the cabin. Placing a hole there would reduce its effectiveness and provide no real benefit. That's why engineers place the bleed hole only in the middle pane. It allows the pressure to equalize exactly as intended while ensuring the outer pane continues carrying almost the entire pressure load. It's a simple design choice, but one that makes the entire window system much safer and more reliable. With so much pressure pushing against them, you might wonder, why don't airplane windows burst during every flight? The answer lies in their smart engineering. Airplane windows aren't made from ordinary glass. They're built using multiple layers of strong acrylic, specially designed to withstand extreme pressure changes. Before they're installed on an aircraft, these windows are tested under conditions much more demanding than a normal flight. Because the pressure is managed across the different layers, each pane performs the job it was designed for. This combination of strong materials, multiple layers, and pressure management keeps airplane windows safe on millions of flights every year. But what happens if the outer pane develops a crack during a flight? Now you might be wondering, what happens if the outer pane cracks during a flight? It may sound frightening, but the window isn't designed to rely on just one layer. If the outer pane develops a crack, it has already done its job by absorbing most of the pressure. The middle and inner panes remain in place, helping maintain the window's strength and protecting the cabin. Pilots are trained to handle situations like this, and the aircraft is designed to land safely as a precaution. Cracks in the outer pane are uncommon, but engineers have planned for them from the very beginning. That's why a cracked outer pane doesn't automatically mean the window will fail. But there's another clever feature most people never notice. Why are airplane windows always rounded instead of square? There's another clever detail you may have never noticed. Why are airplane windows always rounded instead of square? The answer is all about handling pressure. When an airplane is flying, enormous pressure pushes against every window. A square window has sharp corners where stress naturally builds up. Over time, those corners become weak points that are more likely to develop cracks. Rounded windows spread the pressure much more evenly across the entire surface. That means there's no single point carrying too much stress. This simple change makes the window much stronger and greatly improves its safety during every flight. It's another example of how a small design choice can make a huge difference. But rounded corners aren't the only hidden feature built into airplane windows. The tiny hole isn't the only clever feature built into an airplane window. The inner pane is designed to resist scratches from everyday use inside the cabin. The window material is strong, lightweight, and built to handle repeated pressure changes over thousands of flights. Many airplane windows also help reduce harmful ultraviolet rays while still giving passengers a clear view outside. Together, these features make the windows durable and reliable throughout the aircraft's lifetime. Every detail, no matter how small, has been carefully engineered with safety in mind. That's why an airplane window is much more than just a transparent panel. It's a carefully designed safety system. And it all works together because of one tiny hole that most passengers never notice. So, why do airplane windows have tiny holes? That tiny hole, called the bleed hole, helps control the pressure between the window layers, allowing the outer pane to handle almost all of the pressure during flight. Combined with 3 strong layers, rounded corners, and carefully engineered materials, it helps make airplane windows incredibly safe and reliable. It's amazing that one tiny hole, which most passengers never even notice, plays such an important role every time an airplane takes to the skies. Without it, the window simply wouldn't work the way engineers intended. The next time you're sitting by the window on a flight, take a closer look. You'll know that this tiny detail is actually one of the smartest engineering features on the entire aircraft. There's always more to discover. Like, share, and subscribe to Beyond Basics for more fascinating videos made simple.